Hello everyone and welcome to Osahra. It is episode 24 and it feels like we're really racing ahead in our little series. It's also really good to be back because it's been about 4, maybe even 3 weeks since I last built here, and it's been about 2 weeks since I last spoke to Skib. Skib, how you going?
Hafara and Happy New Year, guys. It's pretty cool. I mean, I'm glad to be back here with you. I've been here last week, but I'm back. I'm glad to be back with you here.
Yeah, I mean, last time I spoke to you, you were waiting for some snow. Did you end up getting that snow?
No. I was waiting for some snow, and then 40 degrees hit us. So no snow, not even in the fridge. So yeah, pretty bad.
Oh, what a shame. We had like a 40-degree day yesterday, and today we just had crazy thunderstorms, and now we're back to about 35 degrees or something like that. So I'm struggling, Skip. I'm struggling in my little studio at the back. So
oh man,
yeah,
I don't know
looking
how
forward to turning that.
Well, I think it's the perfect way to record the Osahra videos. Really, if it's that hot, then it's the perfect way. And I guess now, from where you got the inspiration to do this episode, maybe.
Yeah, it feels like I'm really in the same theme. Yeah, guys, we are building in Osahra once again, and it feels really, really good. I decided to jump straight into a concept that I was talking about in episode 22, where I was looking at a picture that really showed a very strong divide between two lifestyles. We've got on the left some very poor houses, some very old houses, and then on the right you have what looks like to be a bit of a hotel. It's more of just a bit of a hotel. It's a giant bloody thing. But I sort of feel like that sort of a scene would exist in Osahra, being such a historical place, being a place that has got a lot of poor living people, and then also people who are probably making some fine money off the oil that's around our place. I feel like that would probably exist. So I was really, really excited to be kind of creating a community like this and showing that divide in a build. Didn't really know how to build like an area like this because it is very tricky, as you can see me kind of playing with the different layers. In a nutshell, I just placed down everything that I thought would fit in an area like this, and then using Move It, I would just copy and paste different buildings on top of each other, raising them up and down, and it worked really, really, really nicely. I also used some inspiration from Cairo, and this little neighborhood that we're looking at is called the City of the Dead. I've got no idea why it's called City of the Dead. I'm not sure if that's like some sort of historical name or whether it's like a touristy name, but this sort of neighborhood is really interesting, and I thought it would work really well for Osahra too. So using that for a bit of inspiration, just to kind of get an idea of how houses can exist sort of placed on top of each other like this. It's I mean, once I sort of started getting going, it was quite easy to kind of do something like this. Skib, what do you reckon? How's it looking?
It looks pretty awesome, man, and I see you doing all these buildings here, topping them at different elevations and so on. It must have been very, very hard to not only hard, but it's time consuming when you do these things. But it went out pretty awesome, and I can't wait to see you copy pasting everything here to make it look big, very big, and a big district like this. Unfortunately, sad and poor, but it will look pretty awesome. Yeah. I mean, it looks so awesome, and you're right. Like it was tricky at first, but then once I sort of place down this one little neighborhood, you'll see me do like a pretty cool trick that I do quite often in lots of my builds, where I just copy and paste that entire neighborhood. Like at first I thought there's not going to be enough variation for it to look like it's different everywhere, but I guess with the style of houses there's a lot of variation, and when you rotate them around it looks great. I mean, you'll see me that pretty shortly. I think it looks really cool. Right now what I'm doing is just decorating the rooftops because that's something that I noticed. There's a lot of stuff on top of these rooftops, and lots of add-ons, a lot of
This is basically like the only place people can dry clothes and put things out on, and where a lot of water tanks are sitting. There's also a lot of like satellite dishes, all this sort of stuff. I'm getting inspiration from those places in Cairo that was kind of gave me lots of ideas, because it's kind of tricky getting in that mind frame of how these sort of neighborhoods work, because I don't see this every day. So it's kind of you really need to rely on Google Earth to really get that realism, and mostly just choosing from some awesome assets made by our asset team, as you can probably call them.
Yeah.
I think most of these are like from the marketplace, which are just so Osahra. Like they just look so good, and a lot of those. I think, did Beat a Monkey make the little sheds as well? Those little rooftops.
Sure. Yes, I think so too. You mean the rusty little shacks, right?
Yeah, those ones.
Yeah. He made them long time ago, not for Osahra, but they are made by him indeed, and they look super cool.
He's just a gem. Without people like that, like we would not be able to. I mean, we'd still be bloody playing vanilla games if using vanilla buildings if it wasn't for lots of asset creators out there. We owe them a lot, so thank you guys so much. Here I am now copying and pasting. It was so nice to do this. It was very easy. There's lots of variation because every time I copy a new patch of buildings, I'm essentially selecting a completely different group, because I'm just rotating and pasting and copying it the whole time. And it works really, really nicely. And it makes me kind of think, Skib, that we could probably use this technique around lots of other places in Osahra, around El Khanem, where there's going to be more communities like this, because there's going to be lots of other places. Can you think of any other places we can probably copy this sort of thing? Of
course. I mean, we can make a few more districts or places like this in El Khanem, and of course, maybe out at the boundaries of the city or outside the city somewhere. I don't know. Places for them, for sure there will be lots of spaces, nice places. Well, I can't say nice anymore because this is not a nice place from that perspective. It's nice for us because it looks pretty cool, but it's not nice for them. But we have lots of places to do so, I guess. I really do think so. I mean,
definitely feel free to use Move It and just copy it. Like I won't be offended. Yeah, I'm also plopping down a mosque. I mean, we've got so many mosques now to choose from on the workshop, which is so damn cool. This little one fits in really nicely in this spot. Like, I've noticed that around, these sort of communities, there are a lot of mosques that sort of sit in the hub around one community, and then, I just noticed that you can see these rooftops all over the place, which is really cool. Like, I know where I've been traveling, I've noticed lots of mosques just in every neighborhood, so it's cool to have a lot of variation now with so many of them on the workshop that we can choose from. I still really like that one that I placed down because it's so big. Like, it feels like you can see the rooftop of it. It's so different compared to the rest of the neighborhoods. You'll see it in the cinematics. By the way, guys, the cinematics at the end of this episode are they're great. They're so good. You can't see me right now, but I'm like pinching my fingers together like I'm tasting some good food. There's some good cinematics, so definitely stick around for them. And you'll see me now start doing some bit of detailing work just to fill in some of the gaps that you can't really copy and paste any buildings into. And then around the larger roads, I'm also placing some more shop fronts because shops would kind of more exist on the road side of things, whereas these sort of houses, the access to them is you might notice that there's a lot of gaps between the buildings, and that's because they're like little streets that people could only really access via walking. And then you can see me now using that wall that Bearded Monkey kindly made for us a couple of weeks ago. It's It's so good, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is, and I'm glad I had the chance to do the temple because I had so much fun, and it looks impressive. I think after I started the game last week, I spent like maybe half an hour just watching and looking at all the new assets and props that he did, which I think he will release these days. He should release them to these days on the workshop. Over 40 plus props and assets for the temple. 40, yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's 40 plus, so it's impressive. Lots of walls, ruin walls. You know what? Who watched the video knows exactly what I'm talking about, and they will be able to play with them pretty soon. And if you guys are going to do so, and I really do think you should try to build your own temple, even if you're not going to build I don't know, in this kind of theme, just start a theme like this at least to do a temple. I mean, you will not regret it. You'll have lots of fun, and after that, who knows? Maybe you'll you wanna stick more to build lots of other things in that map, in the new map. But trust me, guys, you'll love it. Imagine, imagine me when I was looking at, for example, at the entrance buildings, walls. I don't know how to call them exactly. They look like a part of a temple in real life as well. And Bill Monkey did even some nice hieroglyphs or something like this. They are called. Man, they are looking so beautiful. I was like, oh my god. Yeah. And the name Karshak given by Bill Monkey. And later on, I found out there is a temple called Karnak or something. So and it is super cool indeed.
So good. Yeah, I mean, I really loved that episode. And if anyone's going to use those walls, that temple, all those assets that is released, definitely hit us up. We are pretty active on Twitter and on Instagram and on all those other social platforms. So if you do end up using them, please send us a tweet. I'd love to see other people's representations of a temple or other places that you're building. I know a lot of other people are actually building in the same theme as Osahra, so definitely hit us up. I'd love to find out some more things that people are actually building.
Yeah, totally do that, guys. And you know what, $2, you should try to, maybe if you have, if you are into it, you should try to do another temple in somewhere into the mountain, maybe. Lots of people were requesting, saying it would be super cool to see another temple into the mountain and so on. And because I did one, maybe if you have the pleasure to do it, you should try one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking there's a mountain that sits pretty close to El Khanem. I think there would have to be some sort of ruins up there that would have to stick up, and I'd be really keen to do it. I've never really built anything like that, except I guess I did build the pyramids, but going into huge amounts of detail like you did with that temple, I think would really suit a little dirt track creeping up that mountain and something cool up there. Yeah, for sure. I reckon we do heaps. Well, I'm so keen. I'm like totally now in the theme of Osahra. Okay. Let me just talk about what's going on screen right now. So, I literally just copied that entire neighborhood, and it looks kind of seamless. Like you saw me just do it just there in one go, but it really was not a one go sort of a thing. It took ages. It took me about 5 minutes, and I think my computer almost crashed when I did it too, because it's just so resource heavy. There's a lot of props, a lot of buildings on there. But now that I copied that little neighborhood, it's like so easy just to create a bit of difference by changing up the roads a little bit, deleting a couple of houses and just changing things around just a little touch. It just makes me think that there's so many blocks that we can just copy these neighborhoods into them, and so seamlessly, because like it was so easy, and it still kind of creates a bit of difference when you just change a couple of bits and pieces. I'm thinking there's like a little block next to the temple you built. I think that might be a really cool place for a little neighborhood like this.
Yes, indeed, we can do that. Everywhere it's a place for something like this, for a neighborhood like this. You know what? This neighborhood looks like they've been hit by the yellow dollar. Us, the two dictators, just said, you guys take the yellow dollar on, and now they are just living in this manner.
Yeah. They're the poor YouTubers with their channels being demonetized. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. Yeah. These little neighborhoods are like I've seen a couple of these neighborhoods when I've been overseas, and like surprisingly that like I think they're more on the historical. I mean, they definitely are poor neighborhoods. There's no doubt about that. But they are also very historical. So I think like a lot of families have always lived in these sort of houses, and the reason why they've sort of existed is because there is such a high density of people living in these neighborhoods. And it is really sad seeing people living in this sort of way, but then they are also such interesting neighborhoods, and they're so different to anything we have these days, or anything new being built these days. As you can see now, I'm building this hotel block, and like, I don't know, there's something really not, I don't know, like obviously this hotel block is nice, but there's no history to it. It's kind of like a quick build. It's so it is kind of sad that these little neighborhoods do get demolished, and you do lose a bit of history when newer apartments do go into it. You kind of wonder, where do these people go when whole blocks are kind of demolished and new sky rises are built in their place, and kind of places where people like who live in these little neighborhoods probably can't afford to live in a apartment block that looks like this. It just kind of made me think when I was actually building it, and it's funny how a game can make you think that way. Like it's kind of gone from a city building game to a bit of a history lesson.
Yeah, indeed, I know what you mean, and unfortunately it's indeed sad when these kind of places are being demolished, even though you can think, oh, maybe it's a good thing because people can move in a more, let's say, normal places and buildings, but no, they are being evacuated and moved somewhere else into the suburbs of the cities and something like this. So I don't think it's the best thing for them, for sure. Yeah. And you said that these hotels don't have any kind of history. Well, they don't indeed, but they are like in the middle of history. That's where they built it. Yeah.
And I kind of feel like they're, because a lot of these neighborhoods, the old style neighborhoods, they only really ever exist within the center of the cities. They are historical parts of the city. This is like when the city was. They've been around since the city first was developed, and the neighborhoods have just been developing over that time until now. And, and then as I guess progress happens, and then hotels kind of start, and hotels and apartment blocks just get created like this, then, that's when they start demolishing these little towns. And I kind of feel like that's like in Osahra, this is like a good spot to put it. I placed this little neighborhood and these hotels pretty close to the palace because I wanted it to be somewhat close to the center of the town to kind of keep that sort of feel going. Because I wanted it to be like as accurate as possible. I didn't really want to place it somewhere where it wouldn't really exist. Mind you, I could just copy the whole thing and paste it somewhere else, so I guess it doesn't really matter where I place it. By the way, like I'm using these walls that you used for the temple because I kind of felt like the people who built this hotel wanted to kind of keep a little bit of history, so they've built, I don't know, to me like these walls that they've placed just here aren't historical, they're like brand new, they're probably made out of plastic or gyprock or something like that, and they've got like no historical anything to them, they're just like, a bit of a nod to what used to probably be sitting there or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And that wall looks like more likely, as you said, you know what, you said lots of minutes ago about that city in Cairo, or around Cairo, or in Egypt. You said it's called City of the Dead. So this is like this could be a very good place to make a horror movie. You know, these people living in a hotel surrounded by a big wall, and all around them those buildings. No, I swear I love. By the way, I love horror movies and I love zombie movies. Don't ask me why, but it is like that. You know, it's just like that, and it's pretty. It looks good. That wall looks like is like protecting them or something, or maybe just making like a barrier between the two sides. You know?
Yeah, like that's it. I also wanted to kind of create a bit of a barrier, you know. So and that's why I raised these hotels up, because I really wanted to, you know, accentuate, you know, this is a different place. Like these people have a lot of money and they're way higher up. You know, I kind of wanted it to be, you know, a massive difference between the two. Hey, we're pretty much wrapping up this episode. I'm just dropping down a couple of little extra details around this little area, and yeah, I think now's a good time to say see you later and have a great week. Do you have anything else to say, Skip?
No, it was so cool to be back with you here doing the commentary, and glad and like a lot how this turned out, your entire build. So looking forward to see the entire video and the cinematics and everything, and see it on the map as well.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good, very prop heavy, so expect your PC to slow down a couple of notches while you fly around it. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See you later.
Bye.